I've added a piece of entourage to this scene, namely this potted plant, and I'd like to get a shadow of this tree to appear on the ground. First, I'll make a test render in the scene to see what we have. So it looks okay, but it would be more convincing if there was a shadow on the ground. I'll show you later how to calculate shadows using light sources. And whenever you cast a shadow using a light source, it takes some processing power for the computer to figure out where that shadow will actually fall. It's quicker and more efficient to fake shadows using materials, and I'll show you this technique first. To fake a shadow, we need to make a planar object on the ground that represents that shadow. Since this is on the same plane as the floor, it makes sense to move this up slightly. I'll click once on the up arrow in the Z spinner to move it just a fraction of an inch above the ground. Then I'll open up the material editor and assign a new material to the object. Now this bitmap was generated in a previous video, and I'd like to reuse it to create a shadow of the leaves of the tree. And to do that, I'll simply drag this bitmap into the parameters of my new material, and I think I'll drop it in the opacity channel, and I will copy it there so that it can be a unique copy. Then I'll go into that map and turn it on so that I can see it in the viewport. Already I can see there's a problem. I need to go to the Modify panel and uncheck Real World Map Size so that the bitmap appears tiled once on the plane. Now that's looking better, but I suspect that we have the inverse of what we want. I'll open the Output rollout and uncheck Invert. I'll also set the mono channel output to use the alpha channel. The opacity channel, which is what we're mapping right now, uses mono channel output. So it's important to use the alpha channel of this particular image, which looks like this. Here's the alpha. So this is what we want. So let's just do a test render and see what happens. So that looks okay, although it's not quite dark enough. I'll go up to the top level and change the color of the material to pure black. I'll also drag that into the specular color and make sure specular level and glossiness are set to 0 so that it's completely black and not shiny. I'll do another test render. And that's starting to look much more shadow-like. Perhaps I could make it bigger just by scaling up the plane, and I can easily position it by moving the plane around in the scene. Now, I think it might be too dark. We can control the darkness of the shadow by adjusting the output of the map. I'll go into the map and go down here into the output rollout and turn down the output amount. Let's see what it looks like at 0.5. That looks better and fairly convincing. So once you set this up, you can easily copy this shadow and scale it differently or rotate it for different objects in your scene.